So I realized something as I sat down to record episode 9 of Steins Gate Zero, Hey, It's Romania Black. I realized it's been literally about a week and a half since I watched episode 8, and I'm wearing the same shirt today that I was when I was watching episode 8. I was getting ready for this, and I was like, wait a minute. Did I wear this shirt? We're going back to the other world line, so it's all good. But I was like, it's fine. I'll just rewear this shirt again. It's okay. It's Romania Black, and we are on episode 9 of Steins Gate Zero, and watching these every other week is making me, get hungry for more, so don't know if I'm going to have to wait on comments, because I'm probably going to want to watch ahead, because episode 8 was so good. Episode 8 is one of those episodes that makes me kind of nervous. How can they top that? How can they beat episode 8? Because it was so freaking good, but hopefully they'll try. Anyway, I have a couple comments before we start. Matokai Meiji for episode 6 said, one thing I like about this is as bad as it is to see Okarin in tatters like he is, with him down and with him all down in the dumps, other characters are all coming out of the woodwork to fill in for him, including the sudden background characters we've just met. People you wouldn't think of more than an episode or so ago have suddenly started to come up and interact with each other without him around, and have even started helping out here and there. He feels like he's all alone in this quote-unquote new world, and is trying hard to do everything himself, and is falling and feeling even more alone, and all these friends he barely knew he had are coming out to help him. So I thought that was pretty cool. I liked the idea that Okarin is getting support in ways that he didn't even consider possible. So you wouldn't have seen that, I think, in the first series. At least at this point in the first series, you wouldn't have seen that so much. So that's really cool to note. And then Alexander Q for episode 7 says, poor Ruka, though. You're right. I understand how it's a comfort for Okabe to keep him outside of the whole madness and to keep a point of stability in his life, and it might even be a little safer for Ruka this way. But I also think that Ruka has a right to wonder and even demand answers, if he wasn't so selfless. Because this is something that does concern him, and while it's sweet of him to help Okabe this way, he would not be in the wrong to demand some answers and be a part of it all. It's a complicated situation for sure, and one that Suzuha, as you pointed out, is not helping at all. Yeah, I feel like Suzuha is kind of on her own agenda, and while I get where she's coming from, I think that sometimes it can cause more harm than good. And I feel for Ruka too. I feel for Ruka in this entire series, to be honest with you all, But yeah, so those were those comments, and then I just watched the dub because I'm like, it's been a week and a half since I watched episode 8. I need to refresh myself, and J. Michael Tatum! If I go back and rewatch any episodes in the dub, episode 8 of Steins Gate Zero, it's on the list. It is a must watch of English dub anime. If you're watching the English dub of Steins Gate Zero, congrats, cool, it's great so far. If you've never seen a dub anime episode in your life, go watch Steins Gate Zero episode 8. J. Michael Tatum, I mean, just when he starts out hugging Kurisu and he's softly sobbing. Yeah. And then this part I hadn't really even noticed in the original watch. It hadn't quite clicked the way that it does through the dub, but Kurisu's actress says, were you thinking of her? She was thinking that Okabe was thinking of Mayuri when he hugged her. And I'm like, oh my God, damn. And I was like, she didn't realize he was crying because of her being dead and him missing her. She thought it was Mayuri. And that made me think, yeah, this timeline would not have worked either. Because later on he says in the same episode, he says, quote, in this alpha world line, life has no meaning because I can't prevent her death. And I was like, damn. So even if he had come to accept Mayuri's death, he never would have been complete, and Kurisu knows that. And it's one of the reasons she kind of pushes for him to go back, and it's like, it's why episode 23 and 24 are so great in the original series, because it fixes all of our problems. We just got to get there first. J. Michael Tatum freaking out as to how he got in that world line was so good. It was so believable. And then Daru's English dub actor, he stepped up. He was really good in his confrontation with Okabe. And then there's this foreshadowing moment to episode 23 where Daru's actor says, there must be something we haven't thought of. And it's like, you're going to get there. You're going to get there, but you're not there yet, right? But damn, I just wrote my notes. Damn, J. Michael Tatum talking to Curry Sue. They are so damn talented. The emotion they had in the graveyard scene. Peak cinema. And then, the way that Curry Sue describes in the sub, she keeps saying it's a dream, and it's like, well, is it a dream? Is it not? Here, it kind of more, she's talking about how figuratively it is. She goes, it's a bleak fantasy. This world line is a bleak fantasy. It's not the reality that she's like, that you deserve or that Mayuri deserves, right? And then Curry Sue does warn him again not to interact with Amadeus too much or time machines could be created. And I'm like, is it too late? Is it too late though? He asked the question about time machines way back then. So is it too late to stop it? Was it the warning from Curry Sue a little too late to stop? I don't know, y'all, but man, what a great dub of that episode. Definitely worth the watch. So anyway, I'm super excited to dive in episode 9. It's been a while. We need to get back into Steins Gate Zero. And we're going to do just that. So I hope you all are excited. I am too. But we are going to start Steins Gate Zero, episode 9. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. Dang, what an episode to come back on. I don't know. We're only on episode 9. We're only on episode 9 of like 24. How? Episodes 8 and 9 were so freaking good. I'm like, I don't know how the show will sustain it, but I guess we're gonna find out, right? Because this very much feels like, I don't know, this episode felt like the start of an arc towards the climax, but we're only on episode 9, so I'm like, where are we gonna go to from here? It has me genuinely excited to be like, where can we go from here? What will we do? I mean, the big thing is figuring out like the whodunit of who's hacked into Amadeus, who's working with either the Russians or the Americans, preferably the Americans because they're trying to get a hold of stuff. I mean, all equations are pointing to either Yuki, Suzuha's mom, which would be the twist of twists, but we kind of I suspect that by her wrist injury last episode, or 2 episodes ago, or it could even be, you know, the bespectacled woman that Maho knows from America, or they could be in cahoots. Or they could be in cahoots, it could be both of them. It's like The Road to El Dorado where they're like, both is good. Except in this case, it's like both is bad. So we're going to break down this episode, but this was a really, really good episode. I liked this one a lot. There's a lot of emotions. I'm excited to see it in the dub. It's going to be a lot of fun. This was a really good episode, so we just need to dive in and talk about it and see what we get here in 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna look at stills, and yeah, so Okarin waking up in Ye Olde Hospital. I think that there's a couple things that I do want to make note of that are kind of observations. So we're gonna put our little observations up here. Observations on whiteboard Coon. One observation is the fact that it was not just Okarin affected, but also Fubuki. Fubuki was also affected by the world line shift, which is interesting. And I wonder if she was affected because she had such an adverse reaction. Here's the thing. We had this moment in last week's episode where Okarin, because if you think about it, Okarin came back into that world line. Not too much changed. Daru still ended up going to the May Queen. Everyone was still there. But one of the big, shifting moments of that episode was when Okarin said, what would the world be like, if Mayuri had been allowed to live? And that was a trigger for Fubuki, and she was had this big meltdown, and that led Daru to be like, what the fudge, man? What are you doing? So I wonder if because Okarin said that and it caused a trigger that was really strong in Fubuki, it affected her in the world line? Because going back would reverse that traumatic effect. So if she was traumatized in the world line by Okarin, him undoing that would cause her to have that revert, and maybe she was feeling the residuals from that. I'm going by Steins Gate logic, so we could guess, but maybe that's the only thing I can think of as to why she had a reaction. Otherwise, I'm not sure why, but I like It's the subtitle saying, hot damn, you're up. It's like George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, hot dog. But anyway, so, and finally up indeed. So yeah, he's like, what? I collapsed? What's going on? The intro and ED. The OP and ED, I am glad. It took 6 episodes to get there, but I am glad I can watch the OP and ED now. They're really good. I like the songs and I like the visuals. So, in any case, I liked the little continuity when Okarin steps out of the hospital room and nobody's there, and he's like, has the apocalypse happened? Has the rapture come and taken everyone else away? And then you find out that it's New Year's Day, and so there's not a lot of people there. It's like, oh, okay, that gives a little more justification. Apparently in Japan, you don't get sick on New Year's. He's like, did I go back to the original world line? I thought that was an interesting thing for him to question, because I'm like, if he went back to the original world line, why would Maho be there, So I don't know. Maybe he was just wondering if he was back into the world line that he should be, the one where Kurisu has passed, he's back with Amadeus and all that. And he finds out that he is, but he is a little disoriented, so it kind of makes sense. But then he tests it here saying, he says Makisei's name. I guess he was wanting to test saying, okay, I'm back in the original world line. Did anything change from when I left? And when he mentions her name, they're all like, oh yeah, she's the Amadeus system and stuff. So it's like it was before episode 8 happened. So things have gone back, which is interesting. But it's like, what are we going to do with that information? And Okarin's like, someone is changing the world lines without his permission, without him knowing it. The person inside your phone. And they're like, how is Amadeus? So then Maho says that we avoided the takeover, but it's being restored. Okay, the thing is, and they're like, a thief broke into Maho's room. Okay, so they found out that Amadeus, things that we have observed, Amadeus, there was an attempted hack. It has been restored, but whoever it was broke into Maho's room. Broke into Maho's room and office. See, that part there leads me to believe that it's the bespectacled woman that has been visiting from America. But Yuki's whole wrist thing makes me think that it's her. So the logical conclusion would be it's both of them. And they're working together in cahoots. Because what are the odds? She just happened to show up. So I feel like maybe they're working together and it's trying to be a red herring of making you wonder who it's, or maybe it's just Yuki. I don't know. There was a gas explosion, so he decided not to enter. It's possible someone planned it all out. Yeah, I absolutely think that it is. It is frustrating how they don't have any leads. Obviously Maho would not suspect that it's her lab friend that's doing all of this, but I would even be questioning it a little bit, but I get why she wouldn't. We, the audience, have seen her suspicious side glances, so we kind of know there's reason for us to not trust her, but I can see why Maho would not even have her on the radar. Also, Fubuki should be on the radar. Tomato juice girl? Some of you may like tomato juice. The only time tomato in juice form is acceptable is either ketchup, which ketchup's more of when I was a kid. I don't really eat a lot of ketchup now, or tomato soup. It either has to be hot or a salsa. Put some other peppers or something in there, but just cold tomato juice? No. There's just something about it. Side tangent. Something about it. Why are tomatoes in different forms so different? Tomato soup is so different from salsa, is so different from ketchup, is so different from tomato juice. They're all so different, but it's the same damn fruit. I know it's the spices. I know it's the extras. I know I'm being egregious here, but I'm being facetious. But still, I'm like, it's just so weird. I cannot stand tomato juice, but give me salsa or tomato soup. I'm all about it. Help me out. Help me make it make sense. But yeah, so for Fubuki. But yeah, they say it's encephalitis. I want to look this up. Encephalitis. Apparently it has been looked up before. Okay, interesting. So Mayo Clinic says encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain. That's That's terrifying. Have we had this come up before in the show? It can be caused by viral or bacterial infections or by immune cells mistakenly attacking the brain. Viruses that can lead to encephalitis can be spread by insects such as mosquitoes or ticks. When inflammation is caused by an infection of the brain, it's known as infectious encephalitis. And when it's caused by the immune system attacking the brain, it's known as autoimmune encephalitis. Sometimes there is no known cause. It can sometimes lead to death. Diagnoses and getting treated is important right away because it's hard to predict how encephalitis might affect each person. So, they can cause different symptoms such as confusion, personality changes, seizure, or trouble with movement. It can also cause changes in sight and hearing. People with them may exhibit flu-like symptoms such as headache, fever, achy muscles, fatigue, or weakness. Typically, these are followed by more serious symptoms over a period of hours to days, such as stiff neck, confusion, agitation, or hallucinations, seizures, loss of feeling, I can't talk in this, irregular movements, muscle weakness, trouble with speech or hearing, loss of consciousness, including coma. That's terrifying. And infants and young children can have symptoms as well. It says autoimmune encephalitis symptoms appear more slowly and over weeks. I don't know. The more that I read about this, the less likely it seems like it is encephalitis, and I'm questioning this physician that's saying it's a new version of encephalitis. I'm questioning this physician because all he did was pass out. They didn't exhibit any other symptoms. So they're like, it's probably nothing to worry about. Probably nothing to worry about. That encephalitis seemed pretty serious. Maybe they were just like, we need an infectious disease that can pass and not be immediately recognizable. Encephalitis it is. Saying it's going around, I don't think it's contagious though. I think it's caused by mosquitoes or ticks. So interesting. Yeah, I like Maho saying without any external stimulus, it's hard to believe. Maho's on it. She knows what's up. It has to be. So, I like that, again, we cannot let our audience forget that this is, at its core, a visual novel that is also a harem. So, at its core, it is based on a visual novel. At its core, it is also a harem. So, Fubuki, of course, has to become part of Okarin's harem, right? We have to make her part of it, right? Even though her character up until now has not shown signs of remotely being tied to Okarin. All you talked about Okarin when you came to her, she's like, it was because of the dream. But Mayuri was dead in it. Yeah. Clearly she's upset by just even thinking about the dream, but we figure out that it's the same as it was when he was in the other world line. So they say that they're going to schedule a follow-up with him, but everything is fine. They're like, come back next week. We'll see if that ends up happening. And it's like, so they let Okarin leave, but they kept Fubuki there a little longer. So I don't know if anything is going to come of that, of her being there a little longer. If it's going to become a plot element later on, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But in any case, they're like, so Maho confronts Okarin saying, what is the whole situation with Kurisu? And meanwhile, Daru went to take care of something. Okay, the only unrealistic thing about this entire show, the only unrealistic thing, and maybe it's because I'm not from Japan and I don't know how this works. How did Moika get emoticons or emojis or whatever, or the icons, the avatars of our characters? I know that's probably anime logic. Probably doesn't have any explanation. Is that even possible? They are adorable, and I want them all for my phone, but how did she get them? And how are those possible? They're adorable. They're super cute, but I think that's been the most unrealistic thing so far in the series. So yeah, so Okarin gets discharged, and we have Suzuha confronting Daru. Those two collapsed, the others were attacked. How was he when he came to? And he did say Makase's name. I feel for Suzuha, because I feel Suzuha is very conflicted. Suzuha is like, she knows where this world line leads. She knows the end result. And the whole point of her coming back to the past and risking all that she has, including bringing Kagari, which has gone awry already, was to prevent that future from happening. And so she knows that she has to stop it. Otherwise, it's going to be pointless for her to have gone all this way. Right? And she's put Kagari in danger. She herself has been in danger. So she's trying to find a way to make this all work out where she can change the future. But I don't blame Suzuha for being kind of impatient, because it is kind of this, the title of the episode is called The Pandora of Eternal Return, or Pandora's Box. We have this situation where now that the time machine concept is out in the open, it is kind of a Pandora's box. Like, what is Russia going to do with it? What is the US going to do with it? What are they going to do with it? Are they going to try to make another one? What about the outcomes? Can we reverse the outcomes? What do we do if we can't? So I get Suzuha's frustration and her impatience, because she's like, the more time we don't spend trying to undo the future, the more it's going to be cemented and we're not going to be able to do anything. But I do also agree with Okarin and Daru that they're both like, look, we're going to think of something. I feel like Okarin and Daru are both like, they're just on the edge of figuring out what they figure out in episode 23 and what ends up getting sent to him from the future Okarin. That they're like right on the edge of figuring it out, but they're not there yet. And Daru's like, look, we're going to try to do what you want us to do, but we can't be hasty. If we're hasty, we'll make a mistake, and then it will undo what you came here for anyway. So, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, so at the workshop, before we get to the scene with Mr. Braun, Maho is thinking, the thief breaking into my hotel and the fire fiasco. She's like, I haven't, had anything since last night. I like that my Yuri's like, all we have here is fried chicken and bananas. Should I go get you a bento? Yet no, Mayuri, to be fair, if I hadn't ate anything in a whole day, I would eat the fried chicken and bananas. I would have it like in a heartbeat and be like, but I get her being kind and hospitable and offering. So it's interesting that Maho talks about going back to the hotel. The setup feels very much like what Kurisi was doing going back to her hotel in the original series. Feels like there's a little parallel there. I think it's a great idea for Maho to stay with Ferris. I think that's a fantastic idea, because Ferris has a lot of wealth, a lot of security, but she's not like well known with the crew, so she wouldn't be as easy to track down if she wasn't part of like the internal close group. Her staying there at the lab was a terrible idea. Like, love Mayuri, she's great, but the idea of her staying where this place has already been attacked was not a good idea. And you can tell that she feels kind of like the way her hands were kind of shaking. Okarin kind of, appropriately observes that it's not exactly safe for her to stay there. So then they get the idea of taking her to go to Ferris's. But before that happens, I love these emojis with Moika. This was so cute. This was a very cute little callback to... It was a very cute callback to the original series where Moika and him were texting so much. Also, the Daru application with the Rhine, like, did Daru make these emojis? If Daru made the emojis, then I will give it a total pass and will forgive it for everything and be like, okay, that's why they all look like the people, because Daru made them. If that's the case, then it all makes sense in the logic of the show. We're all good. But that's so cool. And also, I just love that Moika sits there and texts him, I don't stand out much, but you're making me feel invisible and hurting my feelings. He's like, what? He's like, really? I love these, like, what are they after? I love that Maho has enough gall and Maho has enough charisma and confidence to be like, what are you guys talking about? You guys are just staying there texting. Talk to Mayuri and I. And meanwhile, this has gone on long enough for Mayuri to be able to make a cup of coffee for them. That was good. So yeah, they're figuring out what to do. Can you keep investigating for me? Okay. So I do think it is relevant to note that Moika left before they decided what was going to happen with Maho. Because Moika, for all intents and purposes, even if she is helping out Okarin, she is still spying for information, and that information could be corrupted or taken. So I'm glad that she wasn't there when they decided to have her go over to Ferris. Like, that was probably good. And I liked that at this point, Okarin is like, I'm going to save Mayuri. I'm going to do this. I am not going to use the time machine. It's like, well, you might not use the time machine. And that's kind of, I do like that being set up, that Okarin has set a goal for himself. He's like, I am going to save Mayuri. And does he say that he's going to find a way to also save Kurisu as well? He's like, I'm going to protect the world. I'm going to save this world line and protect the world where Mayuri lives and protect without the time machine. Yeah. It does make me feel kind of bittersweet here because he's buckled down saying he's going to protect the world line with Mayuri alive in it. The thing that kind of sucks is that he's determined now to do so, which means he's determined now to accept the fact that he's got to sacrifice Kurisu. I think he'll revisit that and maybe decide that he doesn't want to have to sacrifice Kurisu, that he could have it both ways, and that's going to lead him to the realization he has when he makes the video to send back to his former version from years prior, but we're not there yet. So I don't know. And it would be kind of interesting to see if this version of Okarin, if by the climax of, because I was thinking about this earlier in episode 8, I was thinking to myself going, is this series, we're only on episode 9 now, are we going to like fluctuate through time and get time skips and get to the point? Because he sends the video like what is it, 15 years from now? So are we going to get to the point where we jump to 15 years from now where he sends the video back and gets it back to the previous version of himself? Or where are we going to end at? So I don't know. That's going to be the fun of the series, to see like where do we get to, and will something like what Kurisu did to affect episode 22, will those things affect prior episodes as well to lead up to the events of episodes 23 and 24? I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. But he says he's not going to use the time machine, and technically I don't think this version of Okarin does. He sends it back to a prior version of himself, the video that he makes. So we'll see. I'm sure that's what she wanted too. Now, that does make me feel a little bit better. He believes that Kurisu would encourage him to do this all without a time machine as well. I don't know. In that previous conversation, she kind of, from what Daru said, it kind of made it seem like Kurisu was like, let's keep trying until we figure out a solution, which is what is going to end up happening in episode 23. So we'll just see about that. So, like, hold off on finding a hotel. You stay here with Ferris. Look, I know their butler's going nowhere. I'm sure he has his own penthouse. I just love the concept. It is just hilarious to me that they'd kick the butler out and let Maho stay. You know Ferris would. She's like, I don't care at all. She's like, see, there's no problem with it at all. You can use the guest room. You can sleep over as long as you're in Japan. And we have Kuroki here, so it's super safe. I like that Kuroki, the butler, just like goes, like, this man's probably like a black belt, highest level martial artist protecting the family. He's a secret sniper. He's like with the Yakuza. They're going to protect Ferris. It's going to be great. Now, while I think that this is an amazing idea, putting Maho with Ferris like opens up lots of possibilities for their characters to bond and like lots of shenanigans and things to happen. The idea that Kagari is with Ruka, I have hesitations about this. On the one hand, it is a pretty fortified place. I mean, Suzuha did talk about how secure it was, and they put up extra cameras and there's lots of security. On the other hand, if you just had a terrorist group looking for Kagari, and if the tip-off was at the location that you were previously at, then it's kind of like, well, where's the most likely place that Kagari would be? Oh, the lab. Where's the second most likely place she'd be? Oh, Ruka's. Like, you couldn't have taken her anywhere else. But, I mean, I guess it's safe. It's just the problematic element is that both Yuki as well as, Yuki was at the New Year celebration. So both Yuki and the bespectacled friend, whose name I will forget, they both have been at that location before. So they know about it. They've scoped it out. Could they have seen where all the security was? Yeah, each of them could. If they're working together, that's even worse. So I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. It feels, he'll make sure she doesn't go outside. He said not to worry. I like that Kagari's just sitting there holding the metal Upa. Like, that's her lot in life now. Just sit there and hold the Upa. I do hope we do more with Kagari, because she does feel like a MacGuffin. She does feel like, and I don't want to objectify her, but she just feels like she's just here as a plot element. Now, a question about her is, why her? Why her? Is it for future knowledge? Is it for something, does she have like something sacred tattooed on her skin? Because she doesn't seem to remember a lot from, before she time traveled here. So why her? What do we do with that? Why did they want her? I think that we'll get to him using Kurisu as his spiritual advisor. I'm going to connect it to another anime here shortly, but I do agree that, I don't think that they would use her from the future for any ideas that wouldn't work for them. So why have her, unless maybe to be a bargaining chip, maybe because she looks like Kurisu and they want to use that to their advantage to make like another, like, they want to make Timu Amadeus. I don't know. I don't know. So they're going to make Wolfgang. But yeah, he's like, for the time being, I've done everything I can. What do those signs say? It's like UPX? Maybe that's just the station. Why are they after and why'd they raid them? So meanwhile, Suzuha calls him to the rooftop and kind of brings out this ultimatum. And I don't blame Suzuha for asking, did the world line change? Because to Suzuha, that could be a very big deal. And to Suzuha, she's like, I'm trying to save the future, but also I need to be in control of the present, and that's getting harder and harder. And she wants to check and make sure that he's not changed anything, which the sad thing is he hasn't. It's somebody else. So I feel Suzuha's desperation and how impatient she is. It makes me so much even more impressed by Daru in this episode. But I love that she's like, the situation, what you told me about reading Steiner and whatnot. You may not think of it, but it matters a lot to me. Yeah, our girl's been through it. And this is also kind of like the Suzuha from back at the beginning of the series, where she was desperate. She's like, no, we need to change things. And she doesn't know what to do, so it's driving her into a corner where she's having to lash out with violence like she is here. I can't believe she actually shot at him. She intentionally missed, but she was like, she literally asked him about the world line. And she's like, he said we did move to another world line temporarily, but I think we're back again. He's like, I don't know why. They're not nuclear testing. It's from Russia and America's race for a time machine. It'll spark the beginning of World War III. That's not surprising to me. Unfortunately. But this came out in 2018. It's not surprising. So, which is really, honestly though, the timing is very creepy if you think about it. Because I know what 2018 was like in the US, but when did all of that break out with... Okay, so technically the Russo-Ukrainian war began in February 2014, but it really, around COVID, kind of escalated even more. It's scary how in tune with history this series was at the time, and still kind of is. I'm like, the other series I'm going to compare it to in a little bit is Psycho-Pass, and Psycho-Pass predicts things that are happening now, like 20 years prior, which is terrifying. But even then, it was kind of far enough removed that you're like, well, that's a fun coincidence. Here, it feels less like a coincidence and more like a nod to what's going on, that it's like, it hits a little too close to home. But yeah, he's like, Russia and America, who would have thought? And so that's when he remembers Braun talking about the code that's used by the military in the Western world. She's like, I'm an idiot. I kept worrying about what to do, but I never had time for that. And so she tries to force him to come back in the time machine. And I'm glad he resists, because I do agree with him and Daru. It's one thing to want to go back into the past. And I do agree with Suzuha in her trying to convince him to go back and keep trying to change it. I do agree with her on that. But I also agree with Okarin and Daru that there's no point in going back if you don't have a plan. And if your plan is to try the thing you tried before that didn't fail, well, that's insanity, So I love that Daru finally comes in as the voice of reason, because Okarin doesn't want to use the time machine at all. He thinks he can save things without using a time machine. Suzuha believes the only way they can save things is through the time machine. So they are at polar opposites of all this. And Daru has to come in kind of as the middleman and be like, now hold on. He's like, maybe we'll use the time machine, but we have to figure out what we're going to do first. So we need to be a little more patient. We need to be a little bit more calm-headed, cool-headed. She's like, I'm not going to allow you not to. What if the world line changes and Steins Gate is closed forever? I mean, when she says that is a good point. That is terrifying. She's like, what if we don't change it in time and we can never go back and change it? And then he's like, what if we go back and make things worse? I mean, yeah. And he says, could you make the decision between two world lines? Are you willing to let this world line go completely to waste? And then she tells him to shut up, and that's when she shoots him in the face. I wonder if he'll keep having a scar there. I wonder if he'll have a scar, and she's like, the next one's going to hit. And that's when she says, please. And he's like, look, I realized I could send mail to the past. I like that they kept the temporary tag on the phone microwave. He's like, the phone microwave, temporary. He's like, to get back to the original, I trampled over countless memories. But all it did was change the world line. To get back to the original, I had to trample over countless memories. I took things that happened and I undid them all. I sacrificed more than you can ever imagine just to get back to this world line. And if I go back to that summer, the nightmare will repeat over and over again. So he's like, look, we tried it once, it didn't work. We've got to think of something different. Otherwise, we're going to get the same result. And he's like, and I am not going to go through that all over again. He's like, I just spent an episode last week doing all that stuff again. He's like, no. He's like, and you're fine. And she's like, well, are you fine with this world line as it is? If World War III starts, billions of people will die. And he's like, well, even if we could change the world lines, we can't manipulate the future. And that is where Suzuha's like, what? So yeah, I do like Okarin saying, like, you can change the world line. He's like, we spent all last season doing that, but you can't that does not affect the future. Changing the world line itself is not going to change the future. He's like, the causality and time is not going to let us do that. Which is why episode 23 and 24 are so genius. Because he finds a way to manipulate the system and he finds a loophole that gets around it and creates the Steins Gate world line. It's genius. It really is. I couldn't appreciate it back in episodes 23 and 24 as much as I am now, because now you kind of just see the brilliance of it, of like, yeah, that's just, and I'm excited to see how we get to it in these episodes. Like, that's going to be a lot of fun. And so I like Daru's like, I'm not surprised. But he does look so disappointed with her. He's like, why you got the gun out? That's my best friend. That's your uncle over there. Why you got this gun out? Daru, I've gotten on to him a few times in this series. He is an MVP in this one. He is a straight up MVP in this. I was like, even if you force him to come along, do you think it'll solve anything? From the moment I started researching time machines and world lines, I realized trying to control the world lines and the laws of causality is no simple feat. Yeah, this entire series is a cautionary tale that you can't play God. The OP says it itself. There is no God, not one that you yourself can become. The whole thing is the reason why we're researching it. He's like, for once, I wish you would listen and do as your father says. I'm a super hacker and don't you forget it. And I feel bad for Suzuha. I feel bad of her breaking down, asking for help, and Daru stepped up. Daru stepped up. When she was asking for help, Daru stepped up in this. And for him to be like, look, we got this, girl. Don't you worry. Like, the rest of this episode with him in it, he is just, I was super proud of Daru. I was really proud of him. I did not expect him to kind of embrace the role of the dad. And honestly, this kind of thing is what I wasn't expecting, but I'm so welcome with, because I mentioned it back the first couple episodes. I didn't know how I would feel with Suzuha being in the story, knowing that Daru is her dad, and Daru knowing that she's his daughter, and like, how is that going to work? Because with time travel and like parents and children from the future, it's such a weird setup, but Steins Gate Zero makes it work because it's making Daru a better person, and Daru has to step up and, you know, accept this role of dad, but she's old enough that she can kind of communicate with him in a way that they are viewed kind of as equals rather than father and daughter. And it's really effective. I like it. Also, I like the fact that we talked about like 3 options and we have this like the 3 poles, the stairs, the pole, and the slide that he's always standing next to. It's great. Using the information we've got. Could we change the future without using a time machine? Well, I don't know. Do we consider the time leap machine being used to send like video messages back to the past? Do we consider that using a time machine? Because that's what he ends up doing to send the video back to himself. He's like, it's a tough one. But thinking something impossible without due consideration is the downfall of a scientist. I love this. When we get the part, I love the idea that Okarin is using Makise as his like inner monologue to help him rationalize through things. We're going to talk about it here in a minute, but I love it. So also, Okarin having the balls. Okarin looks like he's just been through a Yakuza initiation where he's got like the scar on his cheek. I'm like, damn, Okarin, okay. But him having the balls to go up to Braun and being like, let's finish where we left off. I'm like, Braun is actually terrifying. His actor and his character, like in one moment with one glance, he can completely like glaze over and just be like, what? Like just complete mood change from like doting dad and TV salesman. So he asks about the organizations that could possibly be, you know, the ones that would be most suspicious. And Braun's like, I don't know. Some people might not want to be known. Some people might not be. Some people might want to be known to like not seem obvious. He's like, I don't know. He like to be honest. Assuming the story you told me was true. He's like, he thinks it might be DERPA. And DERPA is the Defense Ultimate Research Projects Agency. So DERPA. We have Defense Ultimate Research Project Agency. That's not very easy to read. I want to see is DERPA real? Is DERPA real? Oh my god, it is. It's DARPA. Oh, okay. So kind of like CERN and everything. It's DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, is a research development agency of the United States Department of Defense responsible for emerging technologies used by the military. Originally known as ARPA, it was created in 1958 by Dwight D. Eisenhower in response to the Soviets' launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957, because we can't have the Russians getting to the moon before us. So, by collaborating with academia, industry, and government partners, DARPA formulates and executes research and development projects to expand the frontiers of technology and science, often beyond the immediate U.S. military requirements. It changed back to ARPA in 1993, and then back to DARPA in 1996. The 90s were a fun time. It's the agency, the economists called DARPA the agency that shaped the modern world, with technologies such as the COVID-19 vaccine, weather satellites, GPS, drones, stealth tech, voice interfaces, personal computer, and the internet on the list of innovations that DARPA can at least claim a partial credit. That's a long list. The track record of success has inspired governments around the world to launch similar research and development agencies. Isn't that something? DARPA is independent of other military research and development and reports directly to Senior of Department of Defense Management. It comprises about 220 government employees in 6 technical offices, including 100 program managers who oversee about 250 R&D development programs. Stephen Winchell is the current director. Damn, okay. Well, that's crazy. So I like that they took this organization that already exists, and also the logo of awareness kind of looks a little bit Illuminati-esque. I'm just saying, looks a little bit Illuminati-esque. We're just gonna say that. You go look up the logo. It's interesting. But yeah, active projects. Interesting. Was there any going on around the time? There's been several. Around 2015, there was some cancer research, so good for that. A constructed barrier. There's a whole list. Oh, stuff with CRISPR. CRISPR's terrifying. CRISPR's actually terrifying. Interesting. There's something called hive architecture, hierarchical identify, verify, exploit. I don't like that. I don't like where that's going. There's some projects in here that I'm like, that seems terrifying. Anyway, there's a whole lot. The Wikipedia article has a lot. You should go check it out. There's more than I could spend time talking with you all about, but it's pretty crazy. Okay. Interesting. But anyway, so we've got that. Okay. Yeah, but DERPA is the parody of that. And so they describe it here, created by the Department of Defense as an organization, a private American think tank, which is interesting because in this version there, it's a private think tank. It's pretty public in, now. I mean, called a shadow CIA that can predict large-scale terrorism. So it's a little variance from the DARPA that exists in the U.S. Interesting. And the research is based on Nakabichi's paper. Their hunt for data would lead straight to Makise Kurisu. I love this. I love the concept of Okarin and Makise in the room together. Have you seen Psycho-Pass? If you've seen Psycho-Pass, please tell me this does not give you parallel callbacks to that. I love Psycho-Pass so much. It's one of my favorite shows. I definitely see the parallels. I'm living for it. I would love if Kurisu, the ghost of her, follows Okarin throughout this series to help him. So why not raid Victor Condria University? If you're trying to find the data, why not raid that university? Why come all the way to Japan? When they attacked, they were after Kagari. Is it because she came from the future? And she's like, well, it can't be for that because it would cause a huge paradox. But a thief broke into Maho's room. There's talk about a gas explosion. So Okarin is trying to figure out what to do with all this and to go talk to her, being like, hey, people are after information about Makise Kurisu. If they couldn't find any back at the lab where she worked at and they can't hack Amadeus, then the next best thing is for them to come after Maho. Or come after Maho and then try to hack Amadeus again. So Okarin's narrowing that down. Meanwhile, Daru gives all of the foreshadowing for what we know is to come in the future about Okarin taking up a stand to lead a vigilante group, about becoming part of the resistance. Like, Daru basically all but hints that it's going to happen. And Suzuha's like, will Okarin ever get in the time machine? And Daru's like, when the time comes, he will. He called it. Daru knew. Daru was so great. He's like, he'll rise from the ashes like a phoenix and it'll be delusional like the good old days. And Hyomen Kyoma will be reborn. She's like, do you realize how embarrassing the things you're saying are? True, but the ending of episode 23, genius. The idea of this little scene, I love this little scene with Daru and Suzuha for so many reasons. One, I love it because it's like this little bonding moment between them. Two, because Daru's like foreshadowing all of the stuff that's going to happen with Okarin later on. And also, I like it because, Suzuha's kind of lost faith in Okarin. She's lost faith in him being able to help her change the future. And Daru's here to be like, hey, no, it's going to be okay. We're going to make this work. You'll see. You just can't be hasty, Suzuha. You just can't be hasty. I love that. And it's a nice little callback to them working together on the time machine back in the original series. Now, there's a little bit of possible hints of things to come where she's talking about writing this letter. I don't know if it's going to end up being the same letter that she leaves, or similar to the letter she leaves whenever, she couldn't make it back in the time machine and got stuck in the past or whatnot. But Daru asks for a letter as well, so I don't know if anything will come of that. And they also hint at the fact that there's not a lot of fuel. I like the fact, because here was the thing. Back where she was like, oh, I don't have a lot of fuel left. I'm like, you didn't come prepared when you came from the future? But now, knowing that she's been trying to help Kagari and find her, That explains why she's used up so much fuel. So she's worried about, running out of fuel and being stuck like in the event horizon. And they try to get more batteries, but that didn't work either. She's like, maybe half a year, maybe we could jump once or twice, that's it. And he's like, maybe she's like, what if I lose control and get stuck beyond the event horizon for all of eternity? He's like, well, don't say stuff like that, you'll jinx it. And she's like, sorry. But she thinks to herself, what would that be like? Would it be peaceful like it is right now for all of eternity? I mean, when she helped him change the future and she was starting to come back and he got to come back and she didn't, is that what they're referring to that's going to happen to her later on? I don't know. Or is there going to be a different fate for her in this version? And it's going to be something like that? I don't know. It brings up a lot of good questions and it sets that up for us. So we'll just have to see how it pans out. But what we do know is that Makise was not wrong when she said that Maho was very messy. How many Red Bulls how has not only this girl consumed like 8 Red Bulls in a day, how has her heart not exploded? Also, how does she already have like bags of trash? What has she been doing? How does one get so messy? There's like 6 trash bags and she's been there a day. Girl. It's a disaster. Yeah, there's like 7 Red Bulls she's been drinking. And the butler's like, please get her to leave. She's like, disaster. She's like, it's quite pleasant here. Now the joke about, Kurisu being like, this place is more of a pigsty than Maho's office space. It all makes sense. I love that. But he's like, how has it been a day? It's too dangerous to go outside, so I have to research here. And he's like, well, and so the thing is, Maho did not know about Kurisu researching the time machine. And he's like, do you have any notes or research? It could explain the tag. And she's like, there's nothing. But, she goes up there to Makise's keyboard. She has Makise's computer. If she knew the password, she could log in and see the information. That's the thing. The problem is, Maho may not know the password. Would Amadeus know the password? Because here's the thing. Amadeus, if someone hacked Amadeus or started asking them questions, it's an AI, right? So the problem with an AI is it's not human. So a human would know, I don't need to tell these people, because here's what could happen. We have data on time machines that belonged to Kurisu. Kurisu is now dead, right? The time machine data, let's just say the data is in the computer. Let's say it's in this computer. Here's my little computer, blah, blah, blah. The computer password, nobody knows, right? But what we do have over here is Amadeus. Amadeus is made from the memories of Kurisu, which probably includes the password to her computer. So Maho has not figured out that she needs to be talking to Amadeus and figuring that out. But if there's a hacker that has figured that out, the hacker could talk to Amadeus and say, what would a password, if you were going to make a password for a computer, what would it be? And Amadeus, going off of memory, because it's AI and doesn't know the distinguish that I shouldn't be answering this question, it would be like, oh, well, I would say this, this, and this. And the hacker would be like, thank you very much. It'll take that data and then crack into the computer. That's the problem. I think that they tried to hack Amadeus to get the password knowledge and then tried to get the computer from Maho, from her office. And luckily she had it with her and they couldn't get it. But they might try to find her and hack it again and take it away. And if they find the data, then obviously Kurisu's dad is in Russia with her time machine paper. But if the Americans, aka bespectacled friend, can hack in, or Yuki can hack in and get the information, then now the Americans would have the info and it'll just escalate World War III even more. So that's what I think they're trying to do. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's where we're going. So no worries whatsoever. Anyway, this was a really good episode. I honestly, to be honest with you all, I was not dreading this episode, but after episode 8 was amazing, I'm like, how are they going to follow it up? How can you follow that up? And we did. Now we're trying to set the stage to figure out what do we do now. So that's interesting. But anyway, I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. I really want to hear your thoughts down below. So please let me know your thoughts about this episode. Please let me know. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the reaction and discussion. If you want to check out every other Saturday, all through spring and summer, we're going to be looking at Steins Gate Zero. So please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me, you can also visit my Patreon and see what that's all about and see things a week ahead of everybody else. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'll put on a different shirt next time. This just worked out. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll be back real soon with more of Steins Gate Zero.